you're making a political claim, and I know why you're doing it, but it's also one that I think is incredibly it's very corrosive, I think, to the idea of whether or not there's anything real in the world, right? Just because there are corrections doesn't mean that it's fake.
We're not in disagreement.
We are in disagreement. You just called it all fake.
I'm saying that every month this agency gives you a number, and you can bet that the number is wrong.
Abby Phillip on CNN, who seems to have incredible patience when dealing with MAGA trolls, went up against her resident MAGA troll on her show, Scott Jennings, about Donald Trump and his administration's lies about the Bureau of Labor Statistics new job numbers, which of course Trump and MAGA have cried and whined over, and Scott Jennings is among the people crying and whining and saying that they're fake. We're going to take a look at these clips from Abby Phillip show on CNN. I'm going to share my thoughts as well. Let's check it out together.
He only wanted people around him who would continue to lie to him about whether he won or lost. When it comes to the job numbers, when it comes to crime statistics, he wants to put people in there that double down on his beliefs. And so at what point, Scott, does that make everything suspect that Trump touches?
As it relates to the BLS, by definition, he's right. The numbers we do get every month are fake because the methodology is so warped that they get changed later.
That's exactly
they're fake.
What numbers do you have faith in?
Because they get changed later.
The numbers that are hundreds of thousands,
today's
the numbers that are
numbers,
19,000.
I don't remember you saying that back in April.
That is a crazy thing to say.
Every month they get changed.
You did not say that back in April when
That
Trump was praising these
That
numbers.
is an insane thing to say because you
do the numbers change or not?
Scott, you worked in
It's a preliminary estimate that's revised. It's a revision.
The Bush administration.
Three times larger.
Hold on a second, Jillian. Scott, you worked in the Bush administration. The numbers that the BLS put out, which get revised every single month in the Bush administration, were those fake?
Well, I think the methodology back then worked better. I think it doesn't work very well now.
Okay.
And so my point is this:
so
whether you agree with the word fake or not, they're not accurate.
You just made the claim that the fact that the numbers get revised mean that they're fake. Were they fake when you worked in the government?
Back in those days, I don't think the revisions were as substantial. Today, they're quite substantial.
So Abby Phillip asks a perfect question here of Scott Jennings, and he can't really come up with a real answer, so he does this typical smirky face and just says, well, it was different then. The way they did it was different, and the way they're doing it now is different. So back then, the Bureau of Labor Statistics was on the side of George W. Bush, but now the BLS is against Donald Trump, so they're just going to make up numbers and fake it. It doesn't make any sense, but this is Scott Jennings' job, is to just talk over Abby Phillip and the other guests on CNN and to smirk and to lie and say everything is a hoax. He's never going to have any actual facts. That's not Scott Jennings' job.
There have always been revisions.
I don't think they were as substantial as they are now.
There have always been revisions.
I don't think they're as substantial as they are now.
Revisions vary. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're large.
Are you okay with the level of revisions?
Guess what?
They're pretty
data,
off.
when you actually look at the public data, the revisions in the public data are actually way smaller than the revisions in the private data. So even though the Bureau of Labor Statistics transparently goes back and says, we have more information, here's what we know, you're making a political claim, and I know why you're doing it, but it's also one that I think is incredibly it's very corrosive, I think, to the idea of whether or not there's anything real in the world, right? Just because there are corrections doesn't mean that it's fake.
We're not in disagreement.
We are in disagreement. You just called it all fake.
I'm saying that every month this agency gives you a number, and you can bet that the number is wrong.
And you said that because
which by definition makes it fake.
Now, it is an estimate. It's not fake.
So my point, just as it was last night, is this. The goal of this agency and the next administrator and of this administration ought to be to update and modernize the methodology so that the numbers we get each month are far more accurate.
So when they update the methodology and they continue to revise them because they have more information, which will happen, you're going to continue to call those numbers fake.
What exactly is the issue with the methodology?
Well, there is a belief that they're not able to do as much or as accurate data collection from private sector companies right now. They're not getting the response rates. Therefore, they're
that
not
was
able
an
to
issue
make
back
estimates.
in April, and I don't remember these objections back in April when Trump was praising these numbers.
Of course, when he gets the numbers and they look good, it's going to look good to him, but it's probably highly agitating to find out later that you were handed fake numbers.
If there were the BLS...
I think it's, listen, it's
if the Bureau of Labor...
It is silly to continue. I get the politics of it. but it is silly to continue to call things that you don't like fake.
It's not that I like it or don't like it. I just want it to be more accurate.
Your name is not Donald Trump.
I just want it to be accurate.
But you have the ability to approach this in a way that is not needlessly inflammatory. It is not fake. Okay,
Abby,
it is not fake.
Are the numbers that you're
fake? The
are the
first
numbers that
ones
you're
or the second set of
bad job numbers? When presidents get bad job numbers, like Barack Obama did, when they get bad inflation numbers, like Joe Biden did, they easily could have called it fake because they don't like the numbers. But it's a choice to do that.
Do you realize
and it's a choice to say that revisions mean something that is fake.
I don't know why we're having a combative conversation. My point is the numbers we get at this moment in time seem to be less accurate than ever.
Yes.
If the government updates and does a better job of methodology and data collection, then they'll be more accurate. What is wrong with it?
I appreciate your revision of your comments.
I literally just said the same thing.
Because what you just said is a fair thing to say. It is a rational, reasonable thing to say. And you did not use the word faked in that last part that you just said. So I just want to note that is a revision, and I appreciate you doing it. Thank you, Scott Jennings.
Scott Jennings, this guy is just unbelievable, but he does his job well. His job is to be a paid troll, and it's amazing that CNN lets this guy on TV night after night after night. But if people weren't watching, they wouldn't have Scott Jennings on the show. When Abby Phillip says your name is not Donald Trump, that's perfect. Scott Jennings wants the United States to be a country like North Korea, in which the dear leader is never questioned. He always gets a hole-in-one in golf. He always bowls a 300 game. He doesn't go to the bathroom. And he's always creating a record number of jobs, and it's always the best economy that has ever existed. That's Scott Jennings' job, is to try to get that message across. And Abby Phillip, I think, does the best she can within this game that's being played on this major network to try to cut through his propaganda. But in 6 months or a year, when Donald Trump has put his own person in place and they still come back with bad job numbers, then what is Scott Jennings going to say? He's going to smirk and say it was the left, it was Democrats did it or whatever. But it doesn't matter. Anything other than the dear leader is perfect, everything that he does is right, anything other than that, Scott Jennings is not going to accept. When Abby Phillip says, previous presidents, if they got bad job numbers, they didn't say it was fake. They tried to address it because they were real presidents. They weren't a con man like Donald Trump, propped up by propagandists like Scott Jennings. Let me know what you think about all this. Do you agree with Scott Jennings? Are the job numbers fake? Did they just have it out for Donald Trump? Or do you agree with Abby Phillip that there's no scam here? The only scam that's being run is being run by Donald Trump and his administration. Let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I'm Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.